We almost missed her the first time we heard this story. Not because it was dramatic, or loud, or carefully framed. It was quiet in the way some truths are quiet, already practiced, already lived with. Her name is Eleanor M. Walsh. And what happened to her matters not because it was extraordinary, but because it was familiar in a way that makes people pause when they recognize it. This is how she remembers it. I was on my knees under my parents' dining table, my shoulder pressed against a chair leg, trying to keep the router from sliding while the cables dangled just out of reach. Someone's phone chimed above me. Someone laughed. Plates clinked. "Ellie, can you get the Wi-Fi back up?" My mother's voice floated down. Light, automatic, like asking someone to pass the salt. "I'm almost there," I said, twisting the cable until it clicked. My sister Maddie leaned over the table, her dress brushing the edge. "It's always her," she said, smiling, like it was a charming family quirk. My father laughed. "You're good with this stuff. You don't mind." "I don't," I said. And that was true, in the narrow sense. I didn't mind fixing the router. I minded that no one noticed anything else. When I stood up, my uncle glanced at me, already halfway back to his conversation. "Still doing computer stuff." "Yeah," I said. That answer had covered a lot of ground over the years. Maddie was opening a gift at the other end of the table. Perfume. Scarves. Someone asked about her husband's new boat. My mother took photos. I wiped my hands on a napkin and slid back into my chair. There was a moment, brief and sharp, when the connection came back on. Phones buzzed. Someone said, "Finally." No one looked at me. We noticed this now, watching it unfold. Not the neglect itself, but how smoothly it moved, how little friction it caused. My mother leaned over as dessert was served. "Thank you, honey. I don't know what we'd do without you." "You'd figure it out," I said. She smiled, already turning away. Later, as people gathered their coats, my father paused beside me. "You should come around more," he said. "You're always so busy." "I know," I said. I meant busy building a life no one here had ever asked to see. If this story stays with you, you already know why. I didn't move to New York with an announcement. I didn't post photos. I didn't tell anyone when I signed the lease or when the keys were handed to me in a plain envelope across a laminate desk. I just left. My apartment sat high enough that traffic sounded like weather instead of noise. The building had a doorman who nodded once and never asked questions. I liked that. I liked being known only by routine. Work filled most days. Meetings that started on time. Screens shared. Problems laid out cleanly. I'd learned early that if you stayed calm and specific, people listened. Not because they liked you, because it worked. E. Walsh. Someone would say on a call, "Can you walk us through the vulnerability chain again?" Sure, I'd answer, pulling it apart step by step. No drama, no rush. By the time I was leading a division, my compensation sat somewhere around $700,000 a year when bonuses and equity settled. I didn't think about it much. Numbers stopped feeling abstract once you'd earned them quietly. At home, my phone lit up with family messages that rarely asked anything real. Maddie sent a photo of her baby sleeping. Long night. The text read. I typed back. "She looks peaceful." My mother forwarded a recipe. "Thought of you." I stared at it longer than I needed to, then tapped a heart and put the phone face down. They still thought I lived in Queens. A studio. Tight but manageable. I never corrected them. They never checked. Once. My father mentioned LinkedIn over the phone. "I should look you up sometime. You won't find much." I told him. "I keep it minimal." A pause. "That figures," he said. Not unkindly. "You were always private." That was one word for it. At work, people trusted me with systems that couldn't fail. At home, they trusted me with nothing that mattered. Some nights, I sat on the edge of the couch and let the quiet settle. Not lonely, just unobserved. It felt like safety, I flew in on a red-eye and didn't tell anyone. By the time I reached the country club, my head felt wrapped in cotton, that dull hum that comes from sleeping upright and pretending it counts. My grandfather Thomas stood near the entrance, leaning lightly on his cane, jacket pressed, eyes sharp. When he saw me, his face softened in a way it never did for anyone else. "Ellie," he said, "you made it. Wouldn't miss it." My mother was already scanning the room, checking place settings, smoothing nothing. She looked at me like she was trying to remember where I fit. "This is Eleanor." She told someone nearby, then hesitated. "She works in cybersecurity, or something like that." I smiled. It was easier than fixing it. Maddie arrived late, all energy and perfume, hugging me a second longer than usual. "You look different," she said, pulling back. "Did you do something, no?" I said, "Just tired." We gathered around a high table while champagne was poured. Conversations stacked on top of each other. Travel, kids, a neighbor's remodel. Thomas turned to me, casual as breathing. "You still in New York?" My mother waved a hand before I could answer. "Somewhere over there, Queens, I think." I waited until she finished. "Near Columbus Circle." I said, "High floor, close to the park." The word settled and didn't move. Maddie's glass tilted, a splash of champagne catching on her plate. Someone let out a low whistle. My mother's smile froze, then slipped. "That's..." My uncle started, then stopped. "That's something." Thomas nodded once, not surprised. Good. Phones stayed in pockets. People leaned in without meaning to. Someone asked how long I'd been there. Someone else asked what I actually did. "We'll talk later," my mother murmured, too quietly for anyone else. I took a sip of champagne. It tasted the same as it had a minute ago. From the corner of my eye, I saw Thomas watching the room, the shift, the way attention rearranged itself. He met my gaze and gave a small, almost apologetic smile. The party continued. Laughter resumed, but the air felt different, heavier, like furniture had been moved while no one was looking. I stood there, visible in a way I hadn't planned for, and felt something tighten in my chest. Not pride, not fear, just the sense that something had been set in motion. The first call came 2 days after the party. My mother's name lit up my phone while I was waiting for a meeting to start. I stepped into the hallway and answered. "I've been thinking about you," she said. Her voice had that careful brightness she used when she wanted something to sound casual. "You looked so settled." "I'm fine," I said. "Just busy. I know. You always are." A pause. "We should catch up soon. Just you and me." We didn't set a date. That was new. Usually she liked specifics. Maddie texted the next morning. "Coffee before you head back, I miss you." The cafe was too loud, the kind of place where people brought laptops and stayed longer than they meant to. Maddie talked fast, barely stopping to breathe. "The baby's not sleeping. Daycare costs are out of control, and Jason's startup is still in that weird middle phase." She stirred her drink even after the ice was gone. "You're lucky you don't have to stress about this stuff anymore." "I still stress," I said. "Just about different things." She smiled, not quite listening. "You always were the steady one." That word lingered. My father called that night. He didn't get right to the point. He never did. "My knee's acting up again," he said. "Insurance doesn't cover everything. There's this gap they don't talk about until you're already scheduled." "I'm sorry," I said. "It's fine," he said quickly. "I'll figure it out." He didn't hang up right away. The messages kept coming. Small things. Photos of cabinet samples. A forwarded article about retirement. Maddie sent another picture, this time of a car interior. "Safety features are unreal now." She wrote, "For kids, it really matters." I stared at the screen longer than I should have. When I sent the transfer, no one celebrated. No one even said thank you right away. It was absorbed. folded into the rhythm of things, like it had always been there. At dinner with my parents the night before I flew back, my mother reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "We don't say it enough," she said. "You're such a help." My father nodded. "Family takes care of family." I nodded back, even as something in my chest pulled tight. Not pain, pressure. The sense of a line being redrawn without my input. Later, alone in the guest room, I lay awake staring at the ceiling fan. My phone buzzed once more on the nightstand. Maddie again. "You really saved us." I held the phone until the screen went dark. The asks stopped pretending to be small. Maddie's message came in while I was brushing my teeth. Phone buzzing against the sink. A photo loaded first. The inside of a new SUV, leather seats, a dashboard glowing soft blue. "We're thinking about this one." She wrote, "To you. It's basically nothing. For your niece, it's safety." I stared at the mirror, toothpaste frozen at the corner of my mouth. When I rinsed, the water ran too long. I typed, erased, typed again. "It looks nice." "It's not about nice," she sent back. "It's about peace of mind." Later that day, my mother called. No hello, just momentum. "I found the countertops I showed you," she said. "They're on hold. Prices keep going up. If we wait, it'll cost more." "Okay," I said. I was sitting on the edge of my desk, shoes still on, coat half off. "We're not asking for anything crazy," she added. "Quick, just help us finish it while your father and I can still enjoy it." My father came on the line without warning. "It's not like we're buying a yacht." "I know," I said. He sighed. The sound meant to signal burden. "We didn't plan for all this. Nobody plans for medical gaps." That phrase landed like it had been rehearsed. At dinner that night with colleagues, my phone stayed face down. I excused myself early. On the walk home, the city felt louder than usual. Sirens, a busker off-key, someone arguing into the air. I sent the money when I got inside. The transfer cleared fast, too fast. Maddie responded with a string of hearts, then nothing. The next weekend, my parents invited me over. My mother set plates carefully, aligning the edges. My father poured wine and talked about a friend who'd retired early, who traveled without worrying about coverage. "It must be nice," he said, laughing softly. My mother reached for my arm. "You've done so well," she said. "We're proud of you." The words felt newly polished, recently learned. After dessert, Maddie called on speaker. The baby cried in the background. "We're so relieved," she said. "You have no idea." "I'm glad it helps," I said. "It's just temporary," she said quickly, "until things stabilize." No one clarified what stabilization meant. When I left, my mother hugged me tighter than usual. "We're lucky to have you," she said into my hair. On the drive back, my phone buzzed again, a message from Maddie. "You always come through." I set the phone down in the cup holder and kept my eyes on the road. The city lights blurred at the edges, and for a moment, everything felt steady, familiar, like this was how things had always worked, and how they would keep working, as long as I stayed quiet and kept pace. My grandfather called on a Tuesday afternoon, right as I was shutting my laptop. His name on the screen made me pause. He never called unless something mattered. "Ellie," he said after I picked up. No small talk, just my name. Steady. "Do you have a minute?" "Of course." I sat back down, the chair still warm. Outside, someone laughed on the sidewalk below. A door slammed. Life kept moving. "I need to tell you something," he said, "and I don't want you interrupting me until I'm done." "Okay." There was a breath on the line, not hesitation. "Wait." "I was in the backyard after the barbecue last weekend," he said. "You'd gone inside. Your parents didn't know I was still out there." I didn't say anything. "Your mother was laughing." He continued. "She said it was about time you started paying back all those years of doing nothing." My hand tightened around the phone. Your father said they should keep you close, at least until the kitchen was finished and Maddie's payments settled. A pause. Then, quieter, sharper. Maddie said you didn't even notice, that you thought they cared. The room felt smaller, not closing in, just still. I'm sorry, he said, not rushed, not dramatic. I wouldn't repeat it if I wasn't sure. I know, I said. My voice surprised me. Flat. Calm. He waited, like he always did, giving space instead of filling it. Your mother used a word I didn't like, he added. She said you were finally profitable. The word landed and stayed. I wanted you to hear it from me, he said, not from how they'll act next. Thank you. I said, I'm here. He said, whatever you decide. After we hung up, I stayed where I was, didn't move, didn't cry. The city noise filtered back in slowly, like sound returning after a pause. My phone buzzed with a new message. Maddie again. A picture of the baby, wrapped tight. Long day, she wrote. I stared at it until the screen dimmed. Something inside me clicked off. Not anger, not grief, hope. And in the quiet that followed, I understood exactly what I'd been to them all along. I didn't announce anything. I didn't explain. I just stopped sending money. The first few days passed quietly. Messages still came in. Same tone, same rhythm. Maddie sent a photo of the baby in a yellow sweater. She finally slept. The text read, I typed back, she looks cozy. Nothing else. My mother forwarded a picture of a half-painted kitchen wall. Progress. She wrote, no follow-up. My father called one evening while I was making pasta. Just checking in, he said. His voice sounded lighter than it used to. Careful. How's work busy? I said, same as always. That's good, he said. A pause stretched. Things are expensive lately. I've noticed, he laughed once. Short? Yeah. Well, we manage. After that, the language shifted. No requests. Just narration. Maddie started listing numbers without naming them. Daycare raised their rates again. She wrote one afternoon, the SUV payment is rough this month. Another day. Jason's startup needed a little push. Always hovering, never landing. My mother did it her way. Photos of cabinets, flooring samples. A message that said, hard to believe how much materials cost now. Another that read, we want to do this while we're still healthy. I responded to everything. Not warmly, not coldly, just present. That's frustrating. I wrote, I hope it works out. Let me know how it goes. The space where money used to move stayed empty. A week passed, then another. Replies slowed. Maddie took longer to answer. My mother stopped adding hearts to her messages. My father's calls came less often, then stopped entirely. One night, my phone buzzed while I was brushing my teeth. Maddie's name. We're under a lot of pressure. She wrote, it'd help if you understood that. I stared at the message. The sink dripped. Somewhere outside, a car alarm chirped and cut off. I typed, erased, typed again. I do understand. The typing bubble appeared, disappeared. Nothing followed. We noticed this part, watching it happen. Not the silence itself, but how clean it was, how little resistance there was once the expectation went unmet. The group chat went quiet after that. No photos, no updates, no small talk filling space. I set my phone face down on the counter and finished brushing my teeth. When I turned the light off, the apartment settled around me. Unchanged. The absence wasn't loud. It didn't demand anything. It just showed me what had been holding everything together. My mother insisted I come early. It won't feel right if you rush in, she said. We need time together. I booked the flight without arguing, not because I believed her, because I didn't want this to linger as an unfinished thought. The house smelled like cinnamon and pine when I walked in. Music played low. My mother hugged me longer than usual, her arms tight, almost careful. My father took my coat and asked about New York, about my building, about work. He nodded a lot, like he was filing things away. Maddie hovered close, touching my arm when she spoke. "The baby's been asking about you," she said, smiling. The baby was not old enough to ask about anything. Dinner moved smoothly, too smoothly. Plates passed, glasses refilled, stories told with the right amount of warmth. I watched them perform it, all of us in familiar roles. Only now I could see the seams. After dessert, my mother brought coffee into the living room. We settled into our usual spots. Maddie kicked her feet up. My father loosened his collar. I didn't plan the timing. I just spoke. "Do you remember the barbecue?" I said. After everyone went inside, the room shifted. Not dramatically. Just enough. Maddie's smile thinned. "What about it?" "I know what was said," I said. I kept my voice level. "I don't need it repeated." My mother leaned forward. "Ellie, families say things. You can't take every word seriously." My father stared at the television, which was turned off. Maddie let out a breath. "So this was a test?" "No," I said. "It was information." "You're being unfair," my mother said quickly. "After everything we gave you." I stood up. The chair legs scraped softly against the floor. "You didn't raise me," I said. "You managed me." Silence followed, thick, heavy. Maddie opened her mouth, then closed it. My father finally looked at me, something unreadable crossing his face. "I'm done," I said. "Don't call to fix things. Don't explain. I've already decided." My mother said my name, quieter this time. I didn't turn around. Outside, the air was sharp and clean. My grandfather waited by the car, hands in his coat pockets. "You ready?" he said. "Yes." He opened the door without another word. As we pulled away, the house stayed lit behind us, warm and bright and unchanged. I watched it disappear in the side mirror and felt something settle. Not relief, not sadness. Just clarity. The call came a few weeks later, from a number I didn't recognize. Walsh. The voice was careful, professional. "I'm reaching out about your advisory role with a family-focused cybersecurity firm." "I don't have one," I said. A pause. Papers shifting. "Your name is listed as a strategic advisor." That night, I found the website. Clean design. Vague language. My name. My photo. My career bent just enough to look real. It didn't feel like anger when I closed the page. It felt familiar, like proof arriving late. I called the legal team at work. By morning, a cease and desist letter had gone out, followed by notices citing misrepresentation and reputational harm. The site vanished within days. No apology came. None was expected. I sold the condo near Columbus Circle that spring. Not because I had to, because I wanted something that didn't carry their fingerprints. I bought a brownstone in Park Slope and tore it down to the studs. Every decision was mine. Slow. Deliberate. I adopted a rescue dog with one ear and a bad attitude. I named him Ghost. He followed me from room to room like he was making sure I stayed solid. One afternoon, unpacking a box I'd avoided, I found an old photo. I was 12, sitting at my grandfather's counter, a broken radio in pieces, screwdriver in my hand. Everyone else blurred in the background, laughing at something I couldn't see. I understood it then. Eleanor Walsh had never been invisible. She had just been busy building, while everyone else was watching for something louder. We sit with that for a moment. Not the fallout, not the conflict, but the quiet that follows when someone finally keeps what's theirs.